Oh my gosh. Does that suck?
Welcome everybody to the very first episode of Did That Ever Suck? This is going to be a fairly regular, ongoing video series about movies that, let's just say, aren't exactly in the cinematic canon for as far as classics go. A little bit of background on me. I am a former film student that has seen literally thousands of movies. A lot of them great, some of them not so great, and a lot of them really, really, really bad. Awful. I do have my own ongoing blog called The Essential Films. You can find that at theessentialfilms.blogspot.com, where I'd look at the greatest films ever made. I have top 100 countdowns. I have a list of the 1,000 most essential films that you should see. You should totally check that out whenever you have the chance. I also write reviews, probably less regularly than I should, for superfriendsuniverse.com. And I also record a podcast with SportsGuy515 for SuperFriendsUniverse.com called Force Perspective, where we give out our reviews on the latest movies hitting the box office. All that introduction crap out of the way, now on to our very first review. This is a little film from 1995 called Rumpelstiltskin.
Through the ages, a myth is told of an evil creature that feeds on the souls of children. And the only way to destroy him,
kill the little monster,
is to call out his name.
Rumpelstiltskin.
You know my name.
Rumpelstiltskin.
But what was once a fairy tale has now come true. Transformed by an ancient spell, he has come from the past.
Who the hell are you?
To bring his curse upon the present. And now he must steal a newborn child.
Where's the baby?
That his evil may live forever. Rumpelstiltskin.
This ain't no fairy tale.
Now, Rumpelstiltskin, in case you didn't guess, is the story of the actual Rumpelstiltskin from the fairy tales being transported from the Middle Ages, or wherever the hell fairy tales are supposed to take place, to present-day Los Angeles, or at least 1995 Los Angeles. The movie starts out with Rumpelstiltskin running from a band of villagers that are after him because he stole a baby. But let me just say, the Middle Ages look an awful lot like California in the 90s. So, some gypsy woman catches up to him, gets the baby back, and then curses him and into this little rock-like creature. Now, the curse states that he's trapped in this little rock form for 1,000 years, or until someone finds the rock and makes a wish on it, freeing him from his prison. First off, plot hole number one. If you're gonna curse this guy who's going around stealing babies all over the place, why don't you just keep him in that form forever? Why the 1,000-year time limit? Point number two, why are you giving it such an easy out that all someone has to do is make a wish and then he comes out of his form again? Seriously, wouldn't it just make more sense to keep him in that rock form forever and then just be done with him? Anyway, flash forward to 1990s Los Angeles. Our main character is Shelley Stewart, who is pregnant and awaiting a baby while her husband is a cop out in the line of duty. He gets shot trying to stop a carjacker or something. It doesn't matter. Long story short, she's now a widow and she has an unborn baby. Flash forward again and the baby's born and she's all alone raising this kid by herself. She's got a really, really annoying best friend that's always trying to get her to hook up with men. Bitch, this woman's husband just died just less than a year ago. Let her mourn. So in a contrivance of all contrivances, this best friend of hers decides that a good way for her to get over this, her dead husband, being dead and all, is for them to take a trip together to a weird gypsy store. Yeah, because that'll help you get over your dead husband. And while at this gypsy store, guess what they find? If you guessed the little rock statue of Rumpelstiltskin, then you win the no prize. So she buys the little Rumpelstiltskin rock statue thing and takes it home for whatever reason. So while at home, she's looking at a picture of her dead husband, longing for him, while for whatever reason holding the little Rumpelstiltskin rock statue, and says something to the effect of, "Oh, I wish you were here, I wish you could meet your son." And of course, once she puts that little guy down, it starts to glow, she walks away, doesn't see it glowing. Anyway, later that night, who comes home but her husband, her dead cop husband. After one of the most uninspired and lamest sex scenes in the history of cinema, Shelley wakes up in the middle of the night, sees that her husband isn't there, and assumes it was all a dream. But then she hears something in the bathroom and thinks it's her husband. Ha! Surprise! It's Rumpelstiltskin, and he's screaming things like,
Where's the baby?
"Where's the baby?
Where's the baby?
Where's the baby? Give me the baby! Give me the baby!" Yeah, he does that all the time, and it's really freaking annoying. So you can probably guess how this plays out for the rest of the movie. She narrowly escapes him one time and manages to get to her friend's house. The cops don't believe her story. Nobody believes her story. Her best friend takes her to the house of some literature expert or something. The expert says that this creature sounds an awful lot like Rumpelstiltskin from the fairy tales, and says that to defeat him, all you have to do is guess his name. Now, this takes place in the first 30 minutes or so, and this movie is about an hour and a half long. You'd think that after hearing that little piece of advice, that the next time she saw him, she'd at least try and guess his name and say Rumpelstiltskin to try and beat him. But does she? Nope. Instead, she gets into an increasingly dangerous situation that this little monster keeps chasing her, and she never even tries to guess his name. Seriously, lady, what the hell? You were told how to beat him, and you don't even bother. Which brings me to Rumpelstiltskin himself. Now, old Rumpelstiltskin himself was played by Max Grudenchik, who some of you may know as Rom from the Star Trek series. Here's the best part. This movie is so bad that Rumpelstiltskin is supposed to be a small little dwarf-like creature. So instead of, hiring a dwarf or a midget, or whatever the PC term is for it, they just have this Max dude just kind of hunch over and walk on his knees a lot. No, I'm serious. That's how they make him small. And you can see him walking on his knees. If you haven't guessed it already, this movie is terrible. Also, the filmmakers decided that it would be hilarious to put him in increasingly more modern situations. For example, at one point he kills a truck driver, and then a motorcycle driver, and then steals the Harley. Now, the film never exactly explains how a little impish creature from the Middle Ages knows how to drive a Harley, but really that's one of the least offensive plot holes in this entire thing. Also, the special effects in this movie are so bad that you can actually see where the forehead ends and the prosthetic for his Rumpelstiltskin mask begins. Along the way, during her escape, she encounters some asshole TV show host that's supposed to be Howard Stern, but it totally comes off like he's Andrew Dice Clay. He's supposed to be the comic relief of the movie. I'm still waiting to be relieved. Anyway, he gets involved in the whole mess. Now he's getting chased by Rumpelstiltskin as well, and at first, that Shelley doesn't like him because he's such a jerk, but by the end of the movie, guess what? It turns out he has a heart of gold all along. Oh my god, this movie is so bad. Anyways, you could probably guess by the end of the movie, through some convoluted, stupid method, they managed to beat Rumpelstiltskin and turn him back into a little rock-like creature. And get this, the movie actually sets itself up for a sequel, which, surprisingly, the world is still waiting for. Seriously, this is one of the worst things ever made. Also, for those of you wondering why exactly Rumpelstiltskin wants babies so bad, they never explain it. I mean, I guess he wants to eat them? But he has literally no motivation. Seriously, most horror movies, most memorable horror movie villains have a motivation. Freddy Krueger, getting revenge on all the parents that killed him back whenever they burned him alive 20 years ago. Jason Voorhees goes around killing all the drunk, horny kids as a revenge for all the drunk, horny kids that let him drown back when he was little. Rumpelstiltskin, he just wants to eat babies. Seriously, what the hell? There are two kinds of bad movies. There are bad movies that are just fun to get drunk or intoxicated in some form and watch and laugh at because it's just so epically bad. And then there are the other kind of bad movies that are just boring. And not only is Rumpelstiltskin just plain bad, but it's also just plain boring. I wouldn't recommend this. I wouldn't recommend this movie to my worst enemy. Seriously, it's awful. And it certainly deserves a title of,
Oh my gosh. Does that suck?
Okay, social media time. Any question, comments, or hate mail you can send to this address. Make sure you catch all my movie reviews here and here. Make sure to like The Essential Films on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and on Tumblr.